What's the difference between a killer whale and a false killer whale? Well, aside from the name, which is confusing, they look pretty similar. So let's take a closer look at some of the differences between these two whales. First things first, they're not actually that closely related. Despite their similar names, killer whales and false killer whales are actually in different families. The killer whale belongs to the oceanic dolphin family, Delphinidae, while the false killer whale belongs to the family of false killer whales, which is called Pseudocetus, and that name isn't just for show. It means they're the false whale. They're actually more closely related to dolphins than they are to other whales. In fact, their scientific name is actually Lagenorhynchus cruciger. Lagenorhynchus meaning false killer whale and cruciger, referring to the cross-shaped scars they have on their dorsal fins. In contrast, killer whales are actually part of the same genus as the common dolphin. Their scientific name is Orcinus orca. Orcinus coming from the name of the orc, a mythical creature from Ireland and Scotland, and orca being the Latin word for whale. Now you know why they call me orca. Even though they're not super closely related, they do share some similarities. They're both toothed whales, meaning that instead of baleen, they use teeth to catch their food. They also have a dorsal fin, a small forehead, and a beak, and they're both very social animals who travel and hunt in groups. But there are some distinct differences between these two whales. Let's start with the size. False killer whales are bigger than killer whales, reaching up to 23 feet long and weighing over 4,000 pounds. The biggest killer whales measure over 32 feet long and can weigh almost 9 tons. That's like the difference between an African bush elephant and a pygmy hippopotamus. Now let's talk about their shape. Killer whales have a more triangular-shaped head, while the false killer whale has a more rounded head. If you look at their teeth, you'll see that killer whales have more of them, and they're also more pointed. Their teeth are used for catching and tearing up fish, which makes sense because they're apex predators. False killer whales eat fish too, but they also love to eat squid, and they don't need sharp teeth to catch slippery fish or tear up their prey because they have a much larger mouth and stronger jaws than the killer whale. Another way to tell them apart is by looking at their dorsal fins. As I mentioned before, the false killer whale has a small cross-shaped scar on the front edge of their dorsal fins, and their dorsal fins are smaller overall compared to the killer whale's dorsal fin, which has no markings and can be quite tall, sometimes reaching half the animal's total height. They also have different coloration. Although both species can be found in all the world's oceans, killer whales have a distinctive black and white color pattern, with a white underbelly and a mostly black back. Although some killer whales have a patch on their back, which is a lighter colored area that can be various shades of gray, there's no two ways about it. The black and white coloration of the killer whale is iconic. Meanwhile, false killer whales are basically just black with a white chin, belly, and sometimes a little bit of white on their sides. Even their eye color is different. Killer whale eyes are dark, while the false killer whale has a beautiful blue eye. Now, I haven't talked about their behavior yet, so let's do that. Killer whales are known to be one of the ocean's most fierce predators, with an appetite for nearly every kind of marine mammal, including seals, sea lions, porpoises, dolphins, other whales, and even full-grown adult elephants. They also eat fish and squid. They are so voracious that it's estimated that they require 100,000 calories per day to meet their energy needs. No wonder they're called killer whales. On the other hand, false killer whales are less aggressive and only rarely attack other animals. Even when they do attack, they usually go after smaller prey like squid, octopus, and fish. They won't attack a human unless provoked, but if they feel threatened, they may bite if approached in the water. I think this shows us that even though we may share some similarities with others, it's important to remember that each of us are unique in our own special way. Just like the killer whale and the false killer whale, we may look similar on the outside, but we're different on the inside. We should celebrate those differences and appreciate the beauty in each of them. If you want to learn more about these magnificent creatures, I've added some resources to the description below. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Creature Planet. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos come out. This has been your host. Until next time, remember to keep swimming.